Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live. Actually, we're going live across a few platforms today to test it out. We've got YouTube and LinkedIn as well. So I'm excited to be here today. My name is Will Blunt, and I'm filling in for Russ today because we're talking about improving marketing performance. And that is one of my favorite things to talk about. So I'll be leading the ship today. As I said, my name is Will Blunt. I'm the head of marketing at the Association of Professional Builders. I host the Professional Builders Secrets podcast, and I've been helping small businesses for over 10 years improve their marketing performance. So I've got a little bit of experience to talk about what we're talking about here today. So to get started, let me do a bit of a rundown on who this live video is for and who the training is for today. It's for residential builders. It's not for tradies, handymen, or commercial construction companies. The advice we'll be talking about today is specifically tailored for custom home builders and large remodelers. It's not generalist advice either. So Russ, Stephen, Sky Colliday, and our executive coaching team have been refining their marketing advice for over 10 years now. All of the advice I'll talk about today is backed up by real data from building businesses that are actually seeing marketing performance. They're getting leads, they're getting high quality leads, and they've been doing it for a long time. It's also backed up by the data in our own research, the State of Residential Construction Industry Report, which we've done for 4 years now. The research in that report shows a number of data points, which I'll touch on today. So, are you in the right place? If that is a question on your lips, let me talk about some of the things that will be helping you solve on this live training session. So if you ever feel like you're wasting money on marketing, you're not really sure where to start, or you've just got a ton of low quality leads coming in, then this is a great training for you to watch today. With that in mind, there's 3 specific things I'd like to cover in this session. The first thing, why so many residential builders are wasting money on marketing and how you can be different. I'll dive into some of the data that proves you are leaving a ton of value on the table and reveal what we recommend when it comes to marketing budgets for builders. Part 2, how to identify the gaps in your marketing strategy and make the most out of your marketing investment. So I'll share my screen and I'll walk through an in-depth marketing audit checklist so that you know exactly where to make improvements in your strategy today. And part 3, how to track your marketing results so that every dollar you spend is driving real results for your business. So I'll close out the session by talking about the most important metrics to be tracking to improve your marketing performance. So we'll start with the why. We'll dive into a bit of a deep audit onto your marketing strategy, and then we'll round it out by looking at the metrics you should be tracking to improve your performance. If you've got any questions at all, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to cover them off. And if I miss any, then obviously you can reach out to our team and get in touch with one of our coaches to have a chat about that. But let's dive in. So why are so many residential builders wasting money on marketing? It's a huge question, and it's one that comes up regularly. So many builders come to us and they're frustrated with the type of leads they're getting, or the budget. They're just not getting any ROI from their budget. So I wanted to touch on a few statistics from our annual research. We conduct research with residential builders in Australia, New Zealand, the USA, and Canada every year. Last year, at the end of 2023, we surveyed 1,817 building company owners. Now, the data that comes out of this research that we do every year is produced into an annual report. I've actually got a copy of it just next to me here. It's called the State of Residential Construction Industry Report, and this is the 2024 version of that. So it's the fourth iteration, and we'll be doing the same thing again later this year. What we found is that 45.9% of builders say generating quality leads is their biggest challenge. Now, that's a pretty significant number, saying that generating quality leads is their biggest challenge. But what was also alarming out of all of this, despite the fact that generating quality leads was such a big problem, 43.5% never post on Facebook, 58% never emailed their database, 66% never post an article or a blog on their website. And 62% of builders admitted that they don't spend any money on advertising. This really blew me away, because if 45% of builders are saying that generating quality leads is their biggest challenge, but they're not spending any money on advertising, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And maybe there's a gap with knowing where to spend the money, how to track it, how to get performance. And that's why we're here today, and I want to share some thoughts with you. So the other thing that came out of the State of Residential Construction Industry Report, and if you don't have a copy, by the way, and you want to check that out, you can get a free PDF of the report by heading to the Association of Professional Builders.com and going to the Saucy page on our website. There's a free PDF version, or you can get a free hard copy as well if you just chip in for shipping. So it's a really valuable report where there's tons of data, like some of the statistics I spoke about there, expert commentary on the trends happening in the industry, and this really allows you to benchmark your building company against others and see if you're doing all the things right, or potentially where some of your gaps are as well. One thing that came out of it, other than those statistics that I mentioned, is that margins are linked to marketing. So we found that the sweet spot was to invest 3% of your revenue into marketing. So what we recommend is somewhere between 1% to 3% of your revenue should go to marketing, with 3% being that sweet spot. Builders that were investing 3% of their revenue into marketing were seeing the highest gross margins. So that's pretty significant if you think about it. And it makes a lot of sense, right? If you're investing money in marketing, you're getting more leads in. Therefore, you can filter out a lot of those low quality leads, and you can speak to the best leads in your area. And therefore, you're more likely to be having good sales conversations and getting people into prelims, into contracts, and then working with great clients, which means you can increase your margins, and everyone's pretty happy from that, I imagine. So when we say 3% of your revenue into marketing, that's not just your advertising costs. We're talking about all marketing costs there. So that encompasses things like company signage, and all other related marketing costs, which I'll go into a little bit more later in today's training session. I'll actually break down the marketing budget, kind of like a pie chart. I'll share a graph with everyone on what we recommend when you're just starting out with marketing, and then when you're trying to grow your building company as well. So I'll dive into some of those numbers in a little bit. But as you can see, despite the proven benefits of marketing, as I said, those builders that are investing more into marketing are actually getting charging higher margins, which naturally results in a more profitable building company. Despite all of that, there's not a lot of builders actually doing marketing, and it's really impacting their profitability. So it's a massive problem across the industry. What does that mean for you? It's actually a huge opportunity for builders to stand out in their area. Now, I guess the question would be, how do you do that? How do you invest money in marketing so you get a result? I'm sure there's plenty of builders out there that have been scarred by working with a marketing agency that's wasted a lot of your money because you've got low quality leads and you've not had, a good return on investment from that relationship. Or maybe you've tried to run Facebook ads or something yourself, and it just hasn't worked. Very, very common scenario. And to be honest, advertising's complex. It changes regularly. So you really need to have an expert in your corner, which you can lean on to kind of get advice and improve and constantly iterate your marketing. So there's a fair bit to look at there. One thing which is really powerful is to start by just doing an audit of your marketing strategy and see where everything's at. So once if you do an audit of everything you're currently doing, you can identify the gaps, and that will allow you to figure out where you should invest more money or where you could need to improve certain aspects of your marketing and things like that. So that's what I'd like to do now. Diving into part 2 of this training today, I want to share my screen and walk through one of our free resources. So this is called the Builders Marketing Audit. And it's going to help you identify the gaps in your marketing strategy. and make the most out of your marketing investment. Give me 1 second to have a glass of water and start sharing my screen. So here it is, the builder's marketing audit, a checklist to identify precisely where the gaps are in your marketing strategy. So the builder's marketing audit has 40 checkpoints to assess your current marketing performance. And it's not gonna tell you exactly what you need to be doing, but it'll give you some hints to identify where you could be going wrong or where some of the gaps might be in your marketing strategy. You really want to be honest when you're going through this. So it's just a starting point. You get to critique your marketing, identify a few gaps, and be honest. Work your way through the checklist one item at a time. For each statement, look to rate your confidence level for how effectively you are currently implementing this component of your marketing strategy. You want to give it a rating of between 1 and 10. So if I scroll down to the second page of the download here, 1 is not confident at all, 5 is somewhat confident, and 10 is extremely confident. Now, for anyone that doesn't have the Builder's Marketing Audit already, this is freely available on our website as well. You just need to opt in with your email address. We'll share a link to this in the comments of this video. So that'll allow you to get the audit and go through it yourself. But today, I thought it would be helpful to actually go through it live and demonstrate some of the examples that will help you understand each portion of the audit. So let's dive into that. The audit itself actually covers 5 key areas: marketing strategy, website experience, organic marketing, paid advertising, and performance optimization. So it kind of covers the 5 key areas of marketing, starting with your strategy, working through how people experience you online, and then talking more about how you can improve your performance. One thing I would say is a low score is not necessarily a failure. It's just an opportunity for you to assess your marketing strategy and look to improve. Okay, so the first section, marketing strategy. This is an opportunity for you to start at a high level and determine whether or not you've really nailed your unique selling proposition. So your unique selling proposition is all about understanding your ideal customer and how you can deliver a better experience for them than any of the other builders in your area. So start by figuring out exactly who your client avatar is. How well do you understand who your avatar is? Parts of this may be in your head, parts of this may be documented, or if you're really well progressed with your marketing, you've actually got this written down and it's part of your documentation. But rate yourself out of 10 on all of these elements, starting with that client avatar. So for example, one example of a client avatar is a high net worth professional couple, married, aged 30 to 45, who have young children and they're living in Sydney. They're also looking to build their dream home where their kids can grow up. So that was basically a summary of a builder in Sydney that is targeting a specific type of person. What's also important with your client avatar is not just outlining who they are, but it's also about outlining who they aren't. So with all of your marketing, you want to attract those ideal customers and repel those customers that you don't like to work with. So in this example, the ideal customer avatar are not retirees. They're not first home buyers. They're not single people or people on a low income. Now, what you want to identify, the reason you want to identify who exactly your client avatar is and rate yourself on the marketing audit checklist is because every piece of your marketing needs to talk specifically to this individual. Every time they watch one of the videos on your Facebook page or read an article on your website or see one of your advertisements, they want to get this feeling as if this is talking directly to me. You need to understand their problems. You need to understand their objections, their questions that they might have in the buyer's journey. And all of those things make up this really holistic view of your client that you can create more effective marketing content to engage with. So it's really important, and I'd spend as much time as possible to just really nail down that client avatar as you can. One thing you can do is, if you don't even have any data around your client avatar and you haven't created a description of them yet, think about your best clients. Think about those clients that you built for in the past that were great to work with. They built the type of homes that you love building. The margins were there on the jobs, and they didn't nitpick. They didn't complain throughout the build about prices of different materials and trying to switch things out. The whole journey was just a beautiful experience on your end. What were the criteria about them that made them such a great client? What questions did they need to answer to be comfortable to work with you? Think about exactly and build out a really robust understanding of who they are so that you can start to try and find more people just like them. So work your way through the marketing strategy piece. Other than the client avatar, you're mapping out the customer journey, which I'll actually go into a little bit later on this training. I'll talk about the typical journey of a person looking to build a home. Nail down your niche. This is really important as well. So rate yourself on how focused your building company is. Are you trying to target everyone, or are you really narrowed in on a specific type of customer and delivering a really specific type of home for them? That's really important. And all of that ties into your unique selling proposition. So the types of homes you build for a very specific client avatar is what encompasses your unique selling proposition. I already touched on budget, investing 3% of your annual revenue into marketing. And as I mentioned before, a bit later on when I'm sharing some other slides with you, I'll dive into the breakdown of what that budget should look like. You want to nail down your messaging. So you want to be clear and concise in everything you do. And the way you do that is, if you have a great understanding of your niche and your avatar and the journey they go on, the questions they have, all that kind of stuff, then you can get your messaging perfectly aligned with those individuals. And that's exactly what you want to be doing with your marketing. You also want to have offers that align with that customer avatar. As you can see, it all anchors back to that customer avatar and your unique selling proposition. So rate yourself on all of these things as you're moving along and see if there's any gaps for you. The offers, one example of an offer is a lead magnet. So we highly recommend using a lead magnet. Essentially, a lead magnet is something that you give away to someone for free in exchange for their contact details. And that's when they become a lead. That's when they enter your CRM, your database, and you can start to communicate to them based on certain criteria that you have. And what you can offer them, such as an ebook or any range of other things that they find valuable, will encourage them to give you their contact information in exchange for those things. And it just starts the relationship and strengthens the way you can communicate with them. You also want to have brand and copywriting guidelines that, again, aligns with everything else that you're doing in your messaging and everything like that. Because one thing that's really important in marketing is consistency. So the way you talk about your customers and your business needs to align on your website, on your Instagram page, on your company signage. Everything needs to have consistency with font, with colors, with style, with tonality. It all really needs to tie in together and talk specifically to that client that you're looking to engage with. So that's the marketing strategy piece. The last couple of bits in here are pretty self-explanatory. You want to make sure that you're targeting your customer avatar on the most appropriate channels where you can reach them. In general, you're looking at digital channels such as Facebook, Instagram, Google, email marketing, content marketing, those things. There's also offline channels, which are quite important for a building company because you're targeting those local businesses, whether that's communities, company signage, and things like I mentioned. But just making sure, rating your marketing mix. If you're only present on one channel, that might be okay if you're just starting out, but you want to make sure that you've got multiple channels going and touch points for that customer, because for them to trust you, the sales cycle for a builder is 3, 6, 12 months sometimes. So you want to have as many touch points as you can to accelerate that process and build trust for your building company. So having a good marketing mix is really important. I'd also urge you as well, like I know I'm talking about marketing today, but marketing without sales is totally irrelevant. You can get as many good leads as you want into your CRM, but if you don't have a strict sales process for qualifying those leads and then following them up and moving them along the customer journey, it's going to be wasted energy and money. So making sure that your marketing ties into a CRM system and a sales process with a sales team or yourself, whoever's doing the selling, is really, really critical. And obviously, timely communication with new leads is extremely important as well. So we'll move beyond the marketing strategy now and look at the website experience. So your website is a powerful tool. It's essentially, your a brochure of your online presence. Before anyone works with you, if they see you on social media and they want to find out more about your building company, they are going to go to your website. That's the first place they go. So you need to deliver a great user experience on your website. You need to build trust with every element on your website. You need to be sure that on your website, everything that someone can see is encouraging them to take the next step in their buyer's journey, so that they can get the information they need to actually want to reach out to you, to want to jump on the phone and start discussing, plans and what their dream is, so that you can kind of progress them through the buyer's journey. If you have a look at some of the things on the website, it gets a little bit technical. Performance optimization, conversion optimization. These are all things that I love to geek out on, but if you're a little bit unfamiliar about them, I'd recommend speaking to an expert. As an APB member, you can talk to one of the marketing agencies on our rewards directory, which is a great place to start. If you're not, try to find a marketing agency or a marketing consultant that has industry expertise. That's really, really important, because marketing a building company is not like marketing another company. You've got to understand the nuances around how to build trust, how to progress people through a long sales cycle, and all of those things. So really important to work with someone that does have industry experience, or at least have a coach in your corner that can kind of guide you with that industry experience. So all of these things are super important from a website experience point of view. You might think, oh, why does it matter if my website's user-friendly or mobile optimized and things like that? Put yourself in the shoes of a prospect. If they navigate to your website on their phone, which is most likely the first time they're going to do that, because everyone's using their phone to navigate to a website these days. Actually, I've just got the statistic here. I didn't even realize that 58% of internet traffic comes from mobile devices. So 58% of your customers are seeing your website on a mobile device for the first time, and the buttons don't work, or it doesn't fit their screen properly. I mean, these things might seem like small things, but that immediately loses trust for your building company. I know it seems very small and subtle, but if the experience on your website doesn't line up with the experience you give them in terms of like building homes and taking them through that whole journey, you'll lose them before they even get into your ecosystem. So you can build the best homes in the world, but you might lose phenomenal clients at that first stage because they tried to click on a button on your website on your mobile after finding you on social media, and the button went nowhere. So it's so important to have everything working on your website and making sure that everything works and lines up with all the other communication you're doing, because you could be losing phenomenally great clients there. One thing I would say with the visuals on your website, they need to be professional. Whatever you do, don't have pixelated images on your website. Make sure they are optimized for the experience so they load quickly as well. And you might need to get some technical help to do that. And make sure they're professionally shot photos of finished houses. Really important. Someone doesn't want to come to your website and see a half-built house. It doesn't help them visualize their dreams. They want to have a look at a beautifully constructed home that they can see themselves living in. That is how you encourage them to want to take that next step. Guarantees and promises are really huge. All of this builds trust. So guarantees such as lifetime warranties on your workmanship, guarantees to be delivered on time, on budget, those kind of things are really important for building trust on your website. And customer reviews and testimonials. I know this is sitting halfway down the website page, but this is super important. If I want to build my home, I want to hear from someone else who has been in my shoes at a stage that they had similar challenges to me, then they engaged you, and then all of a sudden those challenges went away. That's what I want to know. I want to know that they went through the whole build experience and all of their fears were allayed. Because if you think about it, this is a huge investment for most people. They're spending $500,000 plus on building their dream home. They want to be 100% sure that they are going with the right builder. So you need to do everything you can to allay their fears. Obviously, there's content that you can produce, but hearing that through the eyes of one of your happy customers is going to be so much more compelling than when you do it yourself. So obviously you can do that with third parties reviews, which is very, very powerful, such as Google reviews and Facebook reviews. That's a great way to build trust through this and displaying those on your website. But you can also work with your happiest customers to produce case studies. And this is where the gold is. If you have professionally shot video case studies of your clients and it takes them through the journey of the build process and shows their home, that's the gold. That's where you're going to build immediate trust with prospects, and they're going to see themselves in the shoes of those clients and they're going to want to work with you. So a bit of a tip here. If you're looking, you want to keep the case study format relatively simple. One of the best formats I'd recommend is to look at it from a challenge, solution, results perspective. So there's 3 sections in a case study. The first part is getting them to articulate the challenges they had before they were working with you. That's number 1. Number 2, get them to articulate how you helped them overcome those challenges and started to implement a solution, the build process. Number 3, what were the results after all of that? Show the house, show the beautiful little touches that you've made throughout the house that spoke to those very first sales conversations you had with them. Illustrate all of that in a video and you're good to go. You don't want to make the video too long, but if you cover those three things, you're on to a winner. You also want to have another thing that can build trust on your website is social icons. So make sure that they're clicking off to your social pages. Make sure your social pages are also active, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever you're using. It doesn't need to be all of them, but whatever you're using, make sure they're active and they've got content on there that builds more trust and more value and aligns with all that messaging and everything that we established in the strategy. And like I touched on before, making sure everything works on your website is absolutely critical. Okay, so moving on to organic marketing. So organic marketing is essentially everything you do to produce native interest for your business online, typically. So things like producing blog articles or focusing on social media content, creating videos, those kind of things. It's kind of an organic way to engage with your customers. And I'll touch on paid advertising a little bit later, which is obviously when you invest money into promoting your business. So some of the aspects of organic marketing, which are really important. So the indoctrination sequence, this is a series of emails that people will get when they first opt in. So you know that I mentioned that lead magnet earlier on in this training session. If someone downloads the lead magnet, they put in their email address, what happens next? They go into your CRM software and then they start getting a series of emails that will onboard them into your ecosystem, build trust, start establishing rapport. If you need to, it can also help qualify prospects. One second. Haven't spoken this much in a row for quite a while, so need a bit of a drink halfway through. So that indoctrination sequence can help you qualify leads. For example, they might download a lead magnet, and all they're putting in is their email address and their name. And it's like, okay, well, someone's interested, but I don't know anything else about them at this point. So if you can ask them a series of questions after that to try and qualify them, that's going to, number one, help your sales team because you can move leads to a point when they're actually qualified and ready to go. It's also going to help you optimize your advertising much better, which I can touch on a bit later. Because every signal you send back to Facebook saying, okay, this person opted in, yes, but they also went through these 5 steps and now they're a qualified lead. If you can fire that information back to your advertising platform, Facebook, Google, whatever it is, then the campaigns they're running for you will start to show the adverts to more people that fit into the profile of the someone that made it to that step. It sounds like magic, but it actually all works. It comes back to the technology and algorithms that they have on the advertising platform. So this indoctrination sequence is really important for not only qualifying leads, but building trust and onboarding someone into your ecosystem. Other parts of organic marketing which are worth assessing, making sure you've got content on all your channels. We really recommend content marketing for builders because it builds trust with prospects. If you can produce highly professional videos of yourself talking to camera, talking about the biggest challenges that your customers face, overcoming some of those fears that they have in the build process or before they're even thinking about the build process, they start to build trust with you. As soon as when they get on the phone with you or one of your sales team, they're already going to feel like they're further along. They're going to know who you are. And when it comes to comparing you with another builder in your area, it'll be a no-brainer because you've built trust with them through valuable content online. You've helped them overcome many of their pain points. Utilizing personalization and automation in your organic marketing, that's typically through email marketing as well, is super important. And then there's some nice touches that you can add from an organic marketing perspective, like a handover gift when you hand over the build, which can help with referrals. And then obviously having a referral strategy in place is super important. We have a whole action plan for members on building a referral strategy, but it's really important. Too many builders rely on referrals as their only source of leads. That's a major issue. In terms of getting referrals, really, really great way to convert leads, but you need to have another way to generate leads as well. You need to have paid advertising and things like that, because otherwise you're just going to have tons of leads, no leads, tons of leads, no leads. Marketing keeps all of that consistency, which is really important if you're trying to, maintain cash flow and grow your building company and all of those kind of things. Cool. Just someone has said thank you in the comments. So thank you to you as well. Nice that someone's actually listening out there. I'm not talking to myself in a vacuum. So moving on to the rest of the organic marketing strategy. SEO is important. Again, SEO is a really complex topic, so I'm not going to be able to go into too much detail on that at the moment. But for builders, it's really important. Think about it. If someone goes to Google and searches for a builder in your area, you want to make sure that you are showing up in that search. You've got a lot of 5-star reviews, which reflect how good you are as a builder and build trust with those prospects. And there's plenty of other opportunities with SEO beyond just that kind of transactional search as well. For example, some people much higher up the funnel will be searching for answers to questions they have. And that can be really powerful for pulling people in earlier in the journey. So if you produce a blog article, for example, that answers someone's question about, preparing to build your first home or something like that, depending on your customer avatar, you might get them into your system, 6 to 12 months before they're ready to build. But that has come at essentially no cost because you've produced that article 12 months ago and they're still coming in. And then if you get enough of them into your system, obviously there's huge ROI on the back end of that. So big fan of SEO, but highly recommend working with a marketing agency or an expert to get yourself lined up on that one. Okay, so let's dive into the next section, which is paid advertising. Without a doubt, the biggest the most important thing when it comes to paid advertising is making sure you've got conversion tracking in place. I'm going to go into this a little bit more detail once I stop sharing my screen on this particular thing. But conversion tracking is really, really important for getting results from your marketing as a builder. The most important thing is understanding what your criteria are for a marketing qualified lead. So I spoke a little bit before about getting someone to opt in for a lead magnet and then qualify them with a series of different questions, whether that's via your indoctrination sequence or what I would call multi-step forms. They're really, really powerful for qualifying leads. So let me kind of talk through a journey there to help you understand what I'm talking about. Someone comes, clicks on a Facebook ad, and they opt in for a lead magnet. Say it's an ebook that you've produced or something like that on how they can, the 7 steps to building a dream home. Once they opt in with their email and their first name, because that's the easiest thing for them to do, you'll ask them a set of questions, one at a time, one per page. And every time they answer a question, that is adding that information into your CRM software. In your CRM software, that's updating that contact record based on those criteria and moving them through a life cycle stage. So when they first enter your CRM, they're just a lead. You don't have any information about them. When they meet your marketing qualified lead criteria by answering a set of those questions across multi-step forms, they then become a marketing qualified lead in your database. That's the metric you want to measure. That's how you want to optimize your ad campaigns for marketing qualified leads. So those criteria will be on any range of things which are relevant to your building company, but essentially it's covering off those key qualifying questions that you would ask in an initial sales call. And it's going to save your sales team a ton of time if you can check off a lot of that before they ever get on the phone. So that's why conversion tracking is so important. Obviously, you need to have the technical side of conversion tracking set up on your website and everything so that it feeds the information back to Google and Facebook and wherever else you're advertising. And the rest of this section is getting a little bit technical, so I won't go into too much detail, but there's some things that you need to do from a paid advertising point of view to make sure that you can optimize results in terms of having your campaign structure set up. As I mentioned before, optimizing for the right conversion events. So not necessarily focusing on leads, focusing on marketing qualified leads is one example of where you need to be focusing your energy and optimizing your campaigns for. And getting your targeting right as well. A lot of builders out there are probably focusing on, one city or a portion of a city even. So that's really important to make sure that you understand how that works with advertising, so you're not wasting money on people outside your area and things like that. And with targeting as well, once you actually build up a lot of data around who your marketing qualified leads are and get more of them onto your database, you can actually utilize that information to feed back into platforms like Facebook and Google and build what are called lookalike audiences. So it's kind of taking all of the data points that they have about those particular people and creating bigger audiences within your area. And then you'll be able to target your ads towards those people who are more likely to be similar in many, many different characteristics. So that's a great way to do that as well. Assessing your creative. So what I mean by creative is essentially all the things that you use in your ads, whether it's videos or images, things like that. One thing that happens, especially for builders, is creative can fatigue very quickly. So because you're only potentially only focusing on a relatively small geographic area, your ads are getting shown to people at a more frequent rate than, for example, if you were focusing on a whole country or multiple countries. The ads would fatigue much not as quickly because they wouldn't get shown to people as often. But what can happen in a small geographic area is your ads get shown over and over, and then people just blank them out. They might see them multiple times, and then it's kind of like just background noise, and they're not really engaging. So if you can test multiple types of ads, different types of creatives, videos, different things, and regularly refresh that every couple of weeks, ideally, or at least every month, and get new content into your ads, that's going to just catch people's attention more often. And then you can obviously pick the winners out of those tests and invest more money into those and things like that. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you want to have a testing process in place where you are getting new creative and new content out there regularly and seeing what's working. Because funnily enough, what you think it will work often doesn't. I've had many occasions where I'll look at two images and I go, that one's really ugly. This one is beautiful. And we'll test them against each other, and the ugly one will get a better cost per MQL. And you're just like, okay, we've got to go with that one. You got to take the emotion out of marketing, because it should be data driven. It should be about just looking at the numbers and making decisions accordingly. The same thing with copy. So the actual written content you see in your ads, you should be assessing that and testing it all the time. It also should align with your guidelines that we spoke about earlier. The campaign mix. So in general, you want to think about your campaigns in three sections. You've got awareness campaigns, lead generation campaigns, and conversion campaigns. And that kind of looks at people throughout the customer journey. So awareness campaigns are ones where they don't know who you are at all. You'd probably focus things like videos and content at that stage. They're kind of top of the funnel type campaigns. Once they understand who you are, they've watched one of your videos or read one of your articles, then you can try to convert them onto your database using a lead magnet, like I mentioned before, and that's where you focus your lead generation budget. And then conversion campaigns are like once they're on your database and they're showing signs of being ready for a sales call or something like that, that's kind of when you're focusing your energy on converting them into a call at that point. So there's many different ways to look at these budgets, and I'll do a bit of a breakdown once I share my screen on after I've gone through the rest of this audit. Performance optimization. I've touched on this a lot throughout the other sections, so I won't go into too much detail here. I've also been yabbering on for 42 minutes, so I'm sure everyone's keen to get back to their days. But yeah, just wanted to reiterate that testing all of your marketing is so important. Make decisions based on the data that you see. Get the tracking in place so that your data is actually telling a compelling story about where people are at, because that's the only way you can make good decisions in marketing, and that's the only way you can invest your money confidently, if you have all of the data there to tell you where to invest your money. All right, so that's it. Once you finish the marketing audit, if you download that and want to go through it yourself, you'll get a score out of 400. So for each of them, you want to rate yourself out of 10, you'll get a score out of 400. And we've created these buckets: beginner marketer, average marketer, above average marketer, and elite marketer. And there's some tips in there around, what you could do based on your score. Again, it's just very much a guide. It's a starting point. Really, forgetting these scores, there is a bit of advice there that might be helpful, but what you're really trying to see is where your gaps are. Where could you be improving? What are the 5 things that you could take out of doing this? Or even just what's the very next thing you can do which will improve your marketing? What do you need to get in place? So I hope that's been valuable. And yeah, I'm going to stop sharing that for now. Now, the next thing I wanted to do is dive into how to track your marketing results so that every dollar you spend is driving real results for your business. So this is the third part of the training today. And let me share my screen again to dive into a little bit about marketing budgets and return on investment. So what you can see on your screen at the moment is actually, if I can get it looking nice, would be good. Perfect. There we go. What you can see on your screen at the moment is actually a couple of slides out of one of our action plans called the Marketing Blueprint, which we released not too long ago for our members. It's just a snippet of what's in there, but it does break down the overall marketing budget. It then looks at advertising budget and talks a little bit about the customer lifecycle for a building company. So let me just touch on this really quickly because I think it's valuable information. What you'll see on the screen at the moment is when you're first starting out, we recommend focusing a lot of your marketing budget on content creation. So things like articles, videos, photography, that kind of stuff. The reason for that is because a lot of people aren't aware of who you are yet. So you're trying to produce a lot of that content so that you can build up awareness, publish it on your social media, on your website, and then start running some awareness ads just to kind of get your name out there a bit. Once you've got a little bit of brand awareness, you're going to shift your budget to focus on growth. And that's when you invest more into reducing your content creation because you've already produced a lot of content, hopefully, and you're investing in scaling your paid advertising campaigns to focus on lead generation. So that's when you're focusing on converting a lot of the people that have seen your video content or your articles and things like that. You're converting them to get them onto your database. So it's a pretty simple shift. Start with awareness and then shift your energy to focus on growth. One other thing I would say is once you've built up a little bit of that awareness through the first phase, you can start to look at growth opportunities. So we've mentioned SEO as one opportunity there where you can expand your marketing across other channels. But there's probably plenty of other marketing growth opportunities that you could invest additional budget into. The second slide here looks at the advertising breakdown. So I just wanted to touch on this quickly because marketing advertising often get called the same thing. Advertising is when you are paying for attention. So you're paying Facebook, Google, whatever it is to advertise your building company. Marketing is a much more holistic look at all of your budget. So administrative costs related to marketing, signage, branding and things like that. Your website would be another marketing cost, for example. So let's have a look at the advertising budget. Again, if you're just starting out, you really want to focus more on that awareness budget. So getting awareness out there about your building company and focusing on, articles, videos, those type of things, and promoting them via advertising campaigns. As you grow out, you can shift that to focus more on lead generation, like I mentioned in the first section. Now let's have a look at the customer lifecycle stages for a building company. This is just a generalization in many ways, but it gives you a good idea of what you should be looking at. It kind of takes the user journey from not knowing you at all the way through to when you can actually sign a building contract. So you start as a lead, which is when they've shared their contact information with you, like I mentioned before. Once after they become a lead, you're then trying to get them to become a marketing qualified lead. So that is when you automatically categorize them based on a set of criteria that you've predetermined. For example, a prospect may see a video you've created on Facebook about how to avoid problem builders. After finding that content interesting, they click through and look onto your website. At this stage, they still aren't a lead. They've just become aware about your building company. But on your website, they see that you've got a free ebook, which is about the 7 steps to avoid problem builders and build your dream home. To get the ebook, they put in their name, their email address, and then they're in your database. That is when they become a lead. Now, once you've got them in your database, you start asking them further qualifying questions, either in a multi-step form or through an indoctrination email sequence. So some of the questions you might ask are, what type of home are they looking to build? What is your budget? Do they have a lot already? Are they ready to build? Do they have financial approval from the bank? Some of these questions are telling you whether or not they're worth progressing along the sales journey or whether or not you can disqualify them. Essentially, you're looking to just weed out the time wasters and focus all of your sales team's energy on the leads that are actually, they have the budget, they have the lot, they're ready to go. So once they demonstrate a readiness to discuss your building services specifically, that's when they become a sales qualified lead. So they've ticked all those qualifying boxes and they're ready to have a conversation. They then become an opportunity once they explicitly book in a call with you and they're on the call with the sales team, or maybe your sales team's spoken to them directly by calling them themselves, and then they can progress into that opportunity stage. Then you've got prelim, which is when you've created a preliminary agreement, and then contract finally, which is when the deal is formalized. Understanding these metrics is so important for allocating your marketing budget effectively and improving your campaigns. So essentially, you want to be getting more of those contracts, right? But in order to get more contracts, you need to get more prelims. In order to get more prelims, you need to get more opportunities. in order to get more opportunities, more sales qualified leads. In order to get more sales qualified leads, more marketing qualified leads. And that is the metric you can control through your advertising most effectively. So there you have it. I'll stop sharing that one for now. And I just wanted to dive into a little bit of Q&A. That's the wrap for the most of the training today. But I wanted to dive into a little bit of Q&A because we've got a couple of key questions that come up regularly. So I wanted to cover them off. The first one is, what is a good cost per lead? So this is a very general question, but if we had to generalize, typically you're looking at that lead stage to spend less than $100 on acquiring a lead. And then for a marketing qualified lead, it's probably more like that $300 to $400 per marketing qualified lead. Of course, it's all relative to your situation, and you've got to use your own data and your own customer avatar to determine what those metrics are. You also want to take into account that a good guide is every 100 leads you get, you might convert one into a contract. So if you're spending $100 $100 per lead, that's $10,000 per one building contract. That's a general ballpark, but I mean, it's good to know those numbers so you know how much you can invest into your marketing to be able to acquire those leads and acquire those contracts. Another question we often get is, where should I spend my budget? So it's important to consider the size of your advertising budget when choosing the channels you market on. So for example, if you've only got $2,000 a month or less, you'd want to stick to like one channel and just really double down on, say, Facebook, for example, so you can optimize where you're spending your money. As you grow it out, you can then say you've got $4,000 to spend. You can get a mix of Facebook and Google going. And then if you're up at that 7,000 plus budget for marketing, then you can start to look at other growth strategies such as SEO and things like that. Another question we often get is, what is the most effective marketing strategy for residential builders? That's a very, very broad question. I get that. But I guess at the end of the day, it comes back to how you can build trust with your prospects. And we believe that content marketing is the best. Actually, we don't believe it. The data does show us that. Builders that are doing content marketing, producing articles that are helpful for their prospects, are charging higher margins. That came out in the State of Residential Construction Industry Report, and it's come out year on year. So producing valuable content and building trust with your prospects is the best marketing strategy for building companies. It also helps educate your potential clients on the building process and all of those kind of things. Another question we often get is, what are some common mistakes that builders are making when it comes to marketing? The two biggest ones that we've seen is not investing enough into marketing. So as I mentioned earlier, investing between 1% to 3% of your annual revenue is really important. It's all too common that we'll see builders turn marketing on and off, which is a massive mistake. If you're expecting that you can just turn that tap on and off whenever you need leads, it's going to be very, very challenging to do so. Marketing is a consistent thing. You can't be chasing your tail when you need leads. You need to be consistently marketing so that you're building awareness, you're building up that the ecosystem of leads, and you're progressing through that journey the whole year round, so that when you need leads, you don't need to panic and go and spend money on marketing, because inevitably people won't be ready at that point. They need a lot more time to build up and trust you as a building company. The other major mistake we see is not tracking the right metrics. So advertising agencies might tell you about how many clicks they got, how many views they got on your videos and all of that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, marketing qualified leads is all you should care about from your advertising spend, and how that will then turn into genuine opportunities for your sales team. So there you have it. Really enjoyed having a chat with everyone today. I hope there was a bit of value in what we spoke about. If you don't have the Builders Marketing Audit yet, download that from the link in the comments. And if you're not a member of the Association of Professional Builders and you'd like to get into that marketing blueprint I mentioned, I recommend getting in touch with our sales team and signing up so you can get access to all the great resources we've got there. Just as a quick recap on what we covered today, we spoke about why you should invest 3% of your annual revenue into marketing, because margins are linked to marketing and profitability. We spoke about how to identify gaps in your marketing strategy by going through that audit checklist. And I also spoke about the customer life cycle for a building company and how you can track results at every stage to get the best outcomes from your marketing. So thanks once again for all the builders that joined us today. We'll be running these live training sessions every Friday, Australian time. So I'll see you again next week.